Hi everybody, my name's Russ and welcome to My Hammers 11. Now back in 2003 there was a big survey of West Ham fans and they were asked to, 500 West Ham fans were interviewed, and they were asked to give their opinion on their dream West Ham 11. And so it was collated, and people like Phil Parkes and Bobby Moore and Geoff Hurst and Trevor Brooking and Alan Devonshire were all included. Now that was 17 years ago. There's been a lot of players who have left, who have come back, left again, and so I thought it would be a great time to resurrect this. And so that's the point of this channel. We're going to be interviewing at least 500 West Ham fans in its lifetime, in terms of the channel lifetime. All different ages, all over the world. Some famous, some not famous in terms of their celebrity status, and finding out their Hammers 11. Now there's a few rules we're going to abide by. The first one is they have to be a West Ham fan, so we will be checking their West Ham credentials. The second is that they have to play with a 4-4-2 in terms of their formation. So left back, right back, two centre backs, left mid, right mid, two midfields, two up front, and obviously the goalkeeper as well. The third rule is it doesn't have to be the best players. It doesn't have to be your best West Ham 11. It's your West Ham 11. So it could be the best or my best foreign players or my worst foreign players 11. It could be my West Ham rubbish but we still love them fans' favourites 11. Be creative. It's all about understanding why you love West Ham. It's all about understanding the players which you hold dear to yourself, and hopefully there'll be lots of different players and lots of different stories that come out as well. And so that's the whole purpose of this. Now I'm going to be kicking off the series. In terms of proving West Ham credentials, we're going to be asking all of our guests a series of questions just to prove they really are a West Ham aficionado. The first question is, what is your most earliest West Ham memory? For me, it was the 92-93 season, and it was specifically Oxford United against West Ham at Upton Park. We won 5-3 at the end. It was my first game, as you can imagine me with my club shop fresh scarf and beanie hat, and basically it was within 1 minute of the kickoff and Oxford United scored, and my granddad turned to me straight away and he said, "You're in for a lifetime of this, mate." And I didn't believe him at the time, but now I do. And so that was my first memory. The next question we ask is, as well as your first one, is what is your greatest West Ham memory? For me, it wasn't a match, it wasn't a goal, it wasn't meeting a player. It was actually the last game at Upton Park. And my memory was something I was very privileged to be. Now, for those of you who don't know, for almost 20 years, 20 seasons, I have been the match day DJ at West Ham. So I'm the one who presses bubbles when the teams come up and make sure the mics are on and stuff like that. I've done it for 20 years. Now, when we were playing Man United at the last ever game at the Bowling Ground, I was actually on jury service at the time, and I had to, and luckily for me, the case was deferred until the afternoon. So I drove up to Upton Park in the morning, and obviously I have my security pass, and I literally spent 2-3 hours walking around the stadium. There was no one there, a handful of staff putting out stuff on chairs and things like that, and I could sit in where I used to sit with my granddad when I was a season ticket holder. I could walk around and just soak in the ground, go into the dressing rooms, have a quick wee in the toilets, all things like that. And it was a privilege, and it was something I know which no one, if maybe a few handful people, had the opportunity to do. And so that was my greatest ever memory of West Ham. The next question is, who was your favourite player of all time? Now for me, I had an unusual taste of players, but for me it was the best player I've ever seen play for West Ham was Paolo Di Canio. The man was incredible in terms of what he could do. in terms of his passion, in terms of his skill. Every time he had the ball, it was exciting, and everyone thought something crazy was going to happen, and 90% of the time it did. And then the last question we ask is there a player that you'd love to have played for West Ham who didn't? And for me, the greatest player I've seen live was Thierry Henry during during his Arsenal time. He glided. It was like he was skating across the pitch, and I fond memories of watching him getting. Oh, I would have loved him at West Ham. I'd loved him to have a go at West Ham. So he would have been my player I would have loved to have seen play for us. So hopefully that's my credentials proven. Now I'm going to quickly zoom through my best 11. For this, I'm just going for my best players. I may come back in and revisit it and try some different ones. But I'm going for my first, my best Hammers 11. So in goal for me, obviously there's, I've seen lots of players, lots of goalkeepers. Rob Green was an outstanding keeper for us, I think. David James, Xhaka. But for me, I honestly think that Lucas Fabianski is the best goalkeeper that I've seen play for West Ham. For me, the goalkeeper is the most crucial position in the team. You can see the effects last season when unfortunately he was injured, and the lack of confidence it seems to bring players. Having a strong goalkeeper makes your centre backs and your defence more confident, which makes the midfield more confident because they know the defence is more confident, and so forth with the attackers and the goal scorers as well. And so for me, I think Fabianski is the best goalkeeper I've seen play for West Ham. Simple as that. Now in terms of left back, it has to be Julian Dicks. He was the first West Ham Dicks, and that was the Oxford United game, and he absolutely smashed it from about 35 yards, into the top corner. Amazing player, so skillful, and could put a challenge in as well, as everyone knows. So it's quite an obvious choice, but it would be Julian Dicks. Now right back, we've had a lot of good right backs in my opinion. I would like to think that obviously people like Tim Breaker, and I had a huge soft spot and always have had one for Steve Potts, just because of what he did for the club in terms of the amount of games he played for West Ham. But for me, an unusual choice, but one I adored was Sebastian Schemmel. I just thought he was such a good right back. Would have loved him to have played a lot more for us, but he was solid and he could put a tackle in, but he would bomb along that right wing, overlapping all the time. So a bit strange, but Sebastian Schemmel would be my right back choice. Now centre backs, first one, it's got to be Rio. He was a kid when he obviously played for West Ham, and he oozed class, and I don't think we've had a player like that since he played for us. So Rio Ferdinand would be my first centre back. Second centre back, again, slightly unusual choice maybe. I could have had Avi Martin, I could have had Mark Reaper, could have had Slaven, but for me, I think one of my a centre back I always loved to see when their name was on the team sheet was Ian Pearce. Now Ian Pearce was one of those players who was not everyone knew about him outside of the club he played in, if that made sense, but he was a fantastic player, and also he could play up front as well. He'd get some goals, he was quick, he was a bit of a unit, and every time he played, I felt so much more confident when he was playing, to be perfectly honest. So for me, Ian Pearce would be my centre back. So that's my goalkeeper, my back four. Now midfield, right wing, tricky Trevor Sinclair has to be. He was brilliant, around the whole 2006 World Cup when he was playing for West Ham. it was the first time that I can think where there was a West Ham player who was regularly in the England squad, and it was exciting to see him play. He was so quick, and obviously he'll be always known for his bicycle kicks, but also that crossfield ball for Paolo for the goal against Wimbledon. So Trevor Sinclair had to be it. Could have had someone like Matty Rush. I used to love Matty Rush, or put Matty Holmes on the right wing, or maybe go for someone like Hugo Porfirio, who was a great little player, but just obviously not here for too long, and so I couldn't really get myself to include him in my Hammers 11. Now left wing, a little bit different. I could have gone with, I love Matty Etherington. I loved Laser. Old Stan Lazaridis was a fantastic player. But for me, I would have I put old Dimi Payet on the left wing. It's a bit cheating, I know, but I'm going to put him left wing. Payet was, again, one of those players. West Ham love this sort of enigma player. Having him or a Joe Cole or a Di Canio or something like that who could just turn a game. Might do absolutely nothing for 2 or 3 games, but one game he'd be absolutely world class, and that's what that player was. When Payet was on form, he was world class. He was the last, I'd say, proper world class player that could easily walk into a Man United at the time when they were strong, or a Real Madrid or a Barcelona. He was that good. And obviously how it all ended wasn't great, but I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about his playing time, and he was an amazing player for us. And particularly that last season, at Upton Park, he brought so much joy to that season, which was already a fantastic season. He brought all the extra because of the free kicks or the little tricks he would do and the little touches. He was an unknown quantity when we signed him, but quickly established himself. It was an utter bargain, really, for what we paid for him, to be perfectly frank. Now, midfield, my 2 midfielders. First one, Joe Cole. Simple. I don't think you have to say much about it. Again, he was one of those enigma players that West Ham fans love. And I just, I remember seeing him in the youth team with Carrick, and what a team that was when obviously they tore Coventry apart in the final. But he was a fantastic player. My other midfielder, it was a real toss-up between Scotty P and Mark Noble, but got to give it to Mr. West Ham. Got to give it to Mark Noble. Scott Parker was a phenomenal player for us and made such an impact so quickly. Could have had someone like Kevin Nolan. Again, the amount of for me, he had a huge amount of impact on the team in terms of a captain, in terms of leading the team. But that's what Mark's got, and he's had for many, many years. And the fact that he's played so many games, and this sort of renaissance in his career. To be fair towards, it looked like 2 seasons ago it was coming to an end, really, and now the level of fitness. He was playing 90 minutes all the time. It's incredible, really. We've had so many good midfielders. I loved obviously Bish and Johnny Monks and Mad Dog and all those types of players, and Peter Butler I used to love. But for me, it's got to be Mark. It's got to be Nobes. So that leads us to the strikers. Now, one of them I don't think is going to be, well, both aren't going to be particularly unpredictable, to be honest. The first one is PDC. It's got to be Paolo. As I said, he's the best player I've ever seen play at West Ham, and so it makes perfect sense to have him there. Again, it's a very attacking team. I'm not looking at it in general, but in isolation. Having Joe Cole, having Dimitri Payet, having Paolo Di Canio in the same team is quite an attacking formation. But he was phenomenal. He really was, and again, a crazy player. And then finally, so I'm just checking. I'm still waiting for my wife to come back from Marks and Spencer's. And finally, the final striker and my final player for my Hammers 11 was Dean Ashton. Now, I could have put Trevor Morley, or maybe I could have got Palo Wanchop. I used to love Palo Wanchop, or Freddie Canute. But for me, Ashton was such a revelation when he played for us. he was when we signed him from Norwich, I remember being so excited, because it's almost the same type of excitement I have now for Jarrod Bowen. That sort of young, hungry Championship player who, if he hadn't got injured, would have been an England regular, him and Rooney up front for many, many years. And it was a shame he didn't play enough for us. But for me, it had to be Dean Ashton. Him and Paolo up front have been phenomenal. You can just imagine those balls being tricked in and Ashton just holding them up, knocking them off to Paolo, and Trevor coming round and knocking it around to him. Such a fantastic player Ashton was, and and he's such a nice guy as well. And obviously the goal he scored at Mark Noble's testimonial was a tribute to how much skill he still has. He's still got it, but unfortunately injury deprived us of many, many years of Dean Ashton. And again, he would have been one of those players, a bit like when Sinclair played for England. He would have been the same. He would have been playing for us and been playing for England, and it would have given us a real sense of pride seeing this fantastic player turn out for England. So that was my 11. So it's Fabianski in goal, left back of Julian Dix, and then Rio and Ian Pearce in the middle, Sebastian Schemmel on the right, left wing Payet, Joe Cole, Mark Noble, right wing of Trevor Sinclair, with Dino and with PDC up front. Hopefully you appreciate some of them. Some of them might be a bit different from what you understand and what you think it would be your West Ham 11, but that's my opinion, and that's the great thing about it. It's all about opinions. No one's right, no one's wrong. Now obviously there'll be lots of other videos coming through. If you'd like to be involved, please drop me an email or drop me a Facebook message or a tweet, or reply to this YouTube video. Comment, subscribe, and like, please. And we're going to get this going, and I think it's going to be really fun and really, really interesting, and I look forward to speaking to lots of you about your West Ham 11s. Take care. Bye bye.